I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mr. Vieira will be absent this evening. Dr. Vogt? Here. Mrs. Wittes?
Here.
Dr. Selly?
Here.
Mr. Dangler?
Here. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I hereby certify that this meeting has been published in the newspapers in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and posted as required by law.
I need a motion to approve the minutes from the December 23rd, 2019 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Dr. Vogt? Yes. Mrs. Wittes?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
Yes.
Mr. Dangler?
Yes. Consideration of ordinances, public hearing, and final reading of ordinance 20-19, entitled an ordinance creating new chapter 3 of the Code of the City of Long Branch, entitled Regulating Use of Single-Use Plastic Bags, Food Containers, Plastic Utensils, Plastic Straws, Coffee Stirrers for the City of Long Branch. This ordinance was introduced December 23rd, 2019. I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? If there's anyone in the audience that would like to make a comment regarding this ordinance, please step to the microphone and state your name and an address clearly for the record. You will have 5 minutes and may only speak once.
This is just on the ordinance. Vincent Lepore, 33 Ocean Terrace, Long Branch. The ordinance is well intended, but there's concerns. The concern is the legal expenses incurred with this ordinance and the fact that if the state's in the process of doing uniformity, why is the city proceeding now at billable hours to the city attorney on an ordinance which the state may eventually have something different requiring this city to amend this ordinance, incurring more legal expenses? Unless the council wants to take the legal expenses upon itself and spare the taxpayers, then perhaps you would go ahead with this. Otherwise, if there's no assurance from council that future legal expenses will not be incurred with the state mandate on banning plastic bags, well then, I think we have a dilemma. The second dilemma concerns residents from out of the city. We get a tremendous influx into this city during the summer. And without that uniformity in the state, many residents will be coming into Long Branch from towns that don't have a plastic bag ban. They will not know this law. They have no notification. What is the enforcement mechanism, aside from what is lightly mentioned here, or better yet, what is the informing mechanism to out-of-city residents vacationing, visiting Long Branch, to know Long Branch is separate from the towns they come from on plastic bans? Again, I say the intent is good. I would think it would be more cautionary to await a state ban. And when the state has uniformity throughout the state, the municipal governments can fall in line. That's all.
You don't have to ask. Ernest Mignoli, Asbury Park, New Jersey, born in Long Branch. Things laying around the street. All kinds of pollution, not just plastic bags. I mean, it's plastic everything. So what does it mean, singling out plastic bags? What is that going to solve? 0.012% of your problem? The worst thing is chemicals. Everybody knows it. So, like the gentleman said, spend your money on legal things when you could be going after polluters, which is really what Long Branch needs. Thank you.
Linda Swinby, 157 7th Avenue, Long Branch, New Jersey. I have a problem with the ordinance. I agree with it, but there's a big but to this. Pollution is out there. It isn't just plastic, it's cans. But based on the plastic bags, November 23rd, I walked from Pavilion Avenue to Deal, and I found a plastic bag full of cat litter, blue rubber gloves, and all sorts of stuff. The point is, 80% of ocean plastic pollution comes from land and goes out into the ocean. This was over Thanksgiving, and I had to leave it. I didn't have any place to put it, and I was on the public property, private beach property, so there was nothing I could do about it. So high tide comes in, it washes into the ocean. So you're banning plastic bags and going through this. The damage isn't going to accomplish anything because the damage is already done. The damage is already done to the ocean. And go out there who goes out there every day? Or does anybody go out there and look and see what the pollution is? Does anybody do that? After the beach closes in September, pollution still exists. I go out there 2 or 3 times a week, many days that I've gone out there. It exists. 30, 40 years of pollution. How are you going to fix it? And that's a good question. And how are you going to fix it? Here's a good example of what plastic does. Birds on land, in ocean, marine animals die because of pollution. So, and here's another pollution. Although this is what has caused the ecosystem is affected by the pollution, not just plastic bags. You know, you can't put a Band-Aid on a sore and expect it to change. Okay? I got another question here. No, I got 5 minutes, so I'll make it. So if you go to the grocery store, what are you going to do with this? This is what I had chicken on this today. So what do you go to the grocery store, and how are you going to take it?
They're recycling it in Middletown now.
Yeah, and now that,
Excuse
that's
me.
great. But
Excuse me.
I was thinking of that when it gets
When
it gets cold.
Address the council, please.
When it gets cold, and that 20. Who's going to go to Middletown and drive way to Middletown to take your stuff there? I mean, that's a great idea. Grocery store, donuts. Here's another plastic. So how are you going to deal with all this and get it done and taken care of by December 31st of 2020? I find that a bit crazy. I think more work needs to be done in research in the situation. You know, some of this can be addressed. But you still have a plastic cover. You still have a plastic cover. So this might be a solution to the styrofoam to some degree, but you still have a plastic cover. And two, the problem is that we have not held people accountable, and people have polluted for 30, 40, 50 years, and now you want, no, it makes no sense. It makes no sense that this is happening. So I just want, would like to have more time to research, and there's a lot on plastic bags in the ocean. You can Google it, there's enough out there. But I'd like to keep politics out of it, and it's an environmental issue, not a political issue.
Thank you.
Hi, Jess Lisa, 438 Dewey Street. I'm actually part of the Environmental Commission and helped to draft the ordinance, so I just want to kind of address some of the issues that were raised. First of all, it's not just plastic bags. It's utensils, styrofoam, containers, and it mainly focuses on the restaurants here. It's not going to address the plastic packaging that we find in the grocery store. Basically, it's a step in the right direction. It's not a solution. It's not a permanent solution. We have to just, I think we should move forward with the ordinance despite what's happening with the state, because we still don't know what the state's going to do. This also addresses the events that will be held in Long Branch, and so based on Ocean Fest just this past year, the Environmental Commission was situated right next to an attorney or a law firm group with balloons, plastic giveaways. It was kind of like the opposite of what our message was, and so this ordinance will also address the events that we hold in Long Branch and help them to become plastic free. So this was drafted with that intention, knowing that we're not going to solve all of the plastic issues. There's a lot more to be done, and it's not just our city's responsibility. It's going to be a global responsibility, but I think we should support this and pass the ordinance despite the shortcomings.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Catherine Duckett, also of the Environmental Commission, also a PhD in biology like Dr. Lisa. And the research I've read indicates two things that are relevant here. One is that people do know about plastic bans in other municipalities, including New York City and Asbury Park. And so some of the assertions about usage may not be relevant. The biological impacts of plastic in the environment are indeed legion, as have been noted. Research I've read indicates that municipal bans do impact local wildlife conditions and decrease wildlife mortality. I've also discussed this ordinance with Eric Hotaling in a very earlier when it was just gestational, and he indicated that assembly people at the state were interested in knowing the will of the people and seeing how many municipalities passed which kinds of bans, so that at the state they could sort of assess the will of the people that way. So in that sense, I'm very much in favor of Long Branch showing leadership ecologically, socially, and legislatively to make our tiny corner of the world more beautiful and safer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Michelle Rosari, also of the Environmental Commission, and I also worked on putting together the draft ordinance before Mayor and Council. I think a lot of people are afraid of change. I think we're used to a certain way of life and different things that are set in our ways. But what we have to understand is, as an oceanfront community, we have a direct effect on the ocean. And the facts are that by 2050, there's going to be more pieces of plastic in the ocean than there are actually fish. And as a mother of young children, I don't want to see my children growing up in an ocean full of plastic.
Excuse me, could you
Sorry.
face the
Yes.
council, please? Thank you.
So to focus on plastic bags, styrofoam, a lot of this has to do with the restaurant business, as Jessica Lisa said, and it's a small step. But as the consumers start to change their habits, we will eventually affect the manufacturers, which is where it really is going to start from. But it's small habits like this of getting into reusable bags, of not taking the plastic straw when it's not necessary because it's not going to biodegrade for 500 years. That is really going to help the manufacturers change, because there are alternative products out there that are much more ecologically friendly. And people know about plastic bans all over the world. 2 days ago, Thailand just enforced a plastic ban. Mexico City now has a plastic ban. There are over 100 plastic ban ordinances in effect just in the state of New Jersey. So for us to lead the way, to add a few extra things onto our plastic ban, particularly the straws and the plastic utensils, sets us above the bar from what other local municipalities have. And there are other local municipalities that are also doing this. Seabright just did it. Monmouth Beach was a leader. Atlantic Highlands. So the more that we individually as municipalities start to pass this ban, we're going to have a general effect on the state overall. So I appreciate the consideration from the council and mayor, and really appreciate all of your support.
Hi, I'm Nan Simon. I live at 8 Cordelia Court, and recent mover to Long Branch from Monmouth Beach. So I lived there for a couple of years, during which time we passed the plastic ban. And honestly, I know it's a much smaller town, not as many businesses, but I think it went pretty well. I can also say that the company I recently retired from took all the styrofoam containers out of our very large cafeteria operation. It's a campus up in East Hanover, and we had 10,000 employees. And so I think the argument that you can't make change unless it's statewide, I would disagree. I think that everyone can change, and I think I agree with what Michelle just said, is that if you change a little here, a little there, it will put pressure on our state legislators to act. So I support the plastic ban. Thank you.
Thank you. I need a motion. Oh.
My name is Richard Lee, 543 2nd Avenue, Long Branch. I've been a member of the Environmental Commission since it was brought back together again. I can't remember if it was 11 years ago. But when we initially got together and met, at the second meeting, one of the things I talked up about was, wouldn't it be great if we could figure out a way to ban plastic bags? And everyone in the Environmental Commission turned and looked at me like I had two heads, and it was, these are the forward thinkers in the town. And if the people that are thinking forward can't come to a conclusion as to whether or not this would be good, it perhaps wasn't the right time for it. Happy to say that 10, 11 years later, the city has found it to be advantageous to at least start with this. I recognize it's not the be-all, end-all, and there are other problems, water bottles. I mean, it's ubiquitous. Plastic is everywhere. In the Marianas Trench, the deepest point in the ocean, there's plastic pollution. So it's hit everywhere. The atolls out in the Pacific, further away from land than any other places, and no one lives there, the plastic is all around those islands. So once it gets into the ocean, it's very, very difficult to do much about it. They are working on different things to try and collect it, and recycling can be very difficult. But I do want to give the City Council big props and thank you very much for seeing that this is an issue that we should, at the very least, start to take steps to try and correct this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? I need a motion to close.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This is the third reading of ordinance 20-19, entitled an ordinance creating new Chapter 3 of the Code of the City of Long Branch entitled regulating the use of single-use plastic bags, food containers, plastic utensils, and plastic straws, coffee stirrers for the City of Long Branch. I need a motion to adopt it on the third and final reading as advertised according to law.
So moved. Second.
Dr. Vogt?
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
Before I vote, I voted two weeks ago, and the answer was no. And I'm going to repeat the same reasons why. I personally do not believe the public has been educated enough and realizes some of the ramifications this ordinance, will cause on the entire community. We need to do a better job of informing the public. More research needs to be done before the city passes an ordinance like this. I believe we should wait until the state decides what they're going to do. Although this is an important issue, the state will soon take action and make it a statewide, perhaps with some exceptions. The city should wait and see what happens at the state level, and then everybody will be uniform and the public will have more information. As a senior citizen, I need the single plastic bag to carry a few things. It is impossible for somebody who has to multitask to carry a heavy brown bag or a canvas bag, and therefore, for those reasons, I vote no.
Mr. Dangler?
Yes. This is the second reading for ordinance 20-19, entitled an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a donation of real property by Bank of America, N.A., of the property located at 577 Broadway, designated as Block 246, Lot 1. The ordinance was introduced on December 23rd, 2019. I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If there's anyone in the audience that has any comments regarding this ordinance, please step to the mic, state your name and address clearly for the record. You will have 5 minutes and may only speak once.
About the bank?
Yes, sir.
Back to the bank. Nobody else here. Ernest Mingoli, Asbury Park, born in Long Branch. You know, I always find it interesting that I come here and everybody in Long Branch is not here. It's amazing. Like you get tonight, 4 people deciding things for a city of 30,000 people. And then, of course, you have, I don't know how many other people that don't live here that just own those multi-million-dollar condos. So, you know, everything just happens by a few people. So, about the bank, I think I made it clear that I think a lot more should go into public input before you just declare what you declare. And I know you said that the donation comes with certain restrictions and restraints, and I can appreciate that. But people who donate things are very willing to listen to other plans that you may have. I don't think anyone pitched the bank and said, you know, economic development would probably mean that it's good for your bank. Maybe Bank of America has another branch in the city. I don't know. But certainly I was very impressed with a comment that came up from someone on the board that said, it may have been the mayor, that let's try and get a little something for people over on that side of town, which seems to get no respect, no recognition. So it's like being in a foreign part of Long Branch. Anything west of Ocean Boulevard. And in that vein, I'd like to say every time I come here from Asbury to a meeting, relative to what buildings are used for, I come past Brighton Avenue and Ocean Boulevard, and I grew up there. I mean, as a little kid fishing. What I see there now it's appalling to me. And maybe it's just me, but I can't believe. I mean, you're putting up hotels that look like they belong in Tinseltown, Las Vegas. I mean, who is that for? Who's going to stay in these $500 a night hotels? Who are you catering to? I don't get it. Can't see the beach anymore. The beaches are expensive, right? You're dealing with parking now. You're going to start giving it to all the bars. And, you know, maybe you think you want to be like Asbury, make money on these bars that are open. Maybe you should.
What does this have to do with the ordinance, sir?
Well, I'm going to get to that, but.
Thank you.
Okay. So maybe you ought to consider making the bank a bar. And then what you could do is you can charge parking until 2 a.m., like Asbury does, and make a lot of revenue. And then you can claim you have such a great economy, a sin economy, because everybody's looking at Asbury now saying, wow, they're doing more than Long Branch did. Look what they're building here, $10 million condos. Well, it's all based on a sin economy. So I think the use of the bank should be strictly for people. I don't know if you can do that. That doesn't sound constitutional, but the emphasis should be on people west of Ocean Avenue. And I mean, follow the line all the way down south to north, and then anybody west of Ocean Boulevard gets dibs on that building to improve this side, you know, get more restaurants here, more nice things, more family things. Let Pier Village, if they want to capitalize on bars and $20 drinks, let them cater to that. But that's nobody that lives in Long Branch, by the way. I mean, I don't drink, but if I go out, I want a tomato juice. I'm not going to sit at a bar at Pier Village and pay $40 for a glass of orange juice. I mean, tomato juice. It's unheard of. So use that building for like people on this side. You know, maybe like put an ombudsman in there where somebody could complain about trash or lack of services. There's an ombudsman in there that they can go to. Because most people are a little bit shy about coming to these meetings, and I don't blame them. It's not easy to come up here and realize that people are just patronizing you. I mean, it's obvious by the city. We could talk till we're blue in the face. And this mission that this city is on, it's going to get worse. It's going to look worse than this. So is Asbury. So I'd say use the building strictly for, or essentially for the rounding off of the community west of the boulevard. Thank you.
Mr. Mignoli, I don't want to have a conversation about this, but I'm a little confused. I mean, I know you're from Asbury, but you are aware that the bank is uptown. It's west of the ocean, which you're talking about. Oh, okay. No. I just want to be clear on that. Thank you.
I need a motion to close.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This is the third reading of ordinance 20-19, entitled an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a donation of real property by Bank of America, N.A., of the property located on 577 Broadway, designated as Block 246, Lot 1. I need a motion to adopt on the third and final reading and advertise according to law.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Dr. Vogt?
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
Yes.
Mr. Dangler?
Yes. Ordinance for introduction. This is the first reading of ordinance 1-20, entitled ordinance amending an ordinance establishing titles and set salaries for certain employees for the city of Long Branch for the year 2020. I need a motion to introduce the first reading as advertised according to law and set a public hearing for January 22nd, 2020.
So moved. Second.
Dr. Vogt?
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
Yes.
Mr. Dangler?
Yes. This is the first reading of ordinance 2-20, entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 325 Vehicles and Traffic of the Code of the City of Long Branch, Article 2, Schedules, Section 325-26, Schedule 2, Parking Prohibited at all times on certain streets. I need a motion to introduce for first reading, advertise and posted according to law, and set for public hearing January 22nd, 2020.
So moved.
Second. Dr. Vogt?
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
Yes.
Mr. Dangler?
Yes. This is the first reading of ordinance 320 and 3-20, entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 325, Vehicles and Traffic of the Code of the City of Long Branch, Article 2, Schedule Sections 325-30, Schedule 4, Parking, Limited Time on Certain Streets, Ocean Avenue North. I need a motion to introduce the first reading, advertised and posted according to law, and set for public hearing January 22, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Dr. Vogt?
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
Yes.
Mr. Dangler?
Yes. Resolutions. We can take the list of resolutions as a consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes? Yes. Dr. Selly?
Yes.
Mr. Dangler?
Yes.
I'm sorry, we have public participation. You need a motion to open a public participation portion.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. We have a motion to open the public portion of the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Good evening, Mayor Plone and council members. My name is Anita Claiborne, and I live on 161 Garrett Drive. I am speaking tonight to announce that the Monmouth County Democrats Disability Caucus will have its monthly meeting at the Long Branch Street Public Library on Tuesday, January 21st, from 6 to 7:45 p.m. We will be talking about our agenda for this year, which includes the 2020 presidential election plans for local elections, including the CD4 campaign, and various other ways we can encourage voters with disabilities to be involved in elections beyond the ballot, such as town hall meetings and forums, and evidently run for office themselves if they want to. I would like very much to invite all of you to attend, and please bring your suggestions for how the caucus can develop its agenda, such as inviting speakers to our meetings, fundraisers, town meetings, forums, and other activities. There is absolutely no shortage of suggestions and ideas for developing our disability caucus agenda this year, and all your help will be gratefully and truly appreciated. If any of you have any questions, please feel free to see me after the meeting. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
It's the public portion, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Ernest Spigoli, Asbury Park, born in Long Branch. So, I'd like to say that it's my opinion that the Monmouth County prosecutor and the Monmouth County sheriff and the freeholders, probably the most powerful Republican organization group to come and hit Monmouth County in decades, is basically, in my opinion, running this city. And why do I say that? When you look at police chiefs in the areas around here, like Kelso in Asbury, Hunt in Neptune, Roebuck in Long Branch, Schneider in Allenhurst, and Newman in Deal. I mean, we're talking a Republican stronghold. We're talking with Sean Golden, 1,000%. I don't know if the mayor's aware, but you're probably flanked by more Republicans than you can imagine. And I'm not saying that it's important that I think it's a nonpartisan city, basically. But I think the mayor should understand that you're flanked by everybody that's working against you. And you seem to enjoy it, but that's your choice. I mean, there's a lot of people sitting up here we thought were going to be gone the minute you got elected, like your financial guy who's big holy smoker and Republican guy, you know, and going around town making negative comments about you. And yet they sit here and they just make like you're your buddies and you're okay with it. It doesn't make sense, especially the police chief. I mean, people are just appalled at what he's saying about this administration. And by the way, you all voted and gave us him. And I say us because he's very connected in Monmouth County. Roebuck is a $250,000 a year chief. He's very connected with the prosecutor and the sheriff. The sheriff now, as you know, wants to run for governor, which brings in, of course, the freeholders and Mr. Arnone. And what do we have to support us? Well, Mr. Frank Pallone. But Mr. Frank Pallone is outnumbered. And then we have Mr. John Pallone, who doesn't seem to realize that forces are working terribly against you. And it's... How much time do I have?
2.5 minutes.
How many?
2.5.
Okay. So I named the chiefs, Kelso, Hunt, Roebuck, Schneider, and Newman. Newman is, in my opinion, pretty horrible because he's a Long Branch resident. He was a Long Branch cop. And then he became the head of the Deal Police Department, which is a non-civil service. And he's become so involved in politics that it's wrenching. And why do you say that? Because look at the judge he's got. He's got Judge Bassin. You had Judge Bassin here. Look at the horrible things Judge Bassin decided when he was here. He let off all the cops. He let a keel off for knocking a telephone pole over drunk. He doesn't put Pescucci in jail the way he should. You know, Joyce Jr. gets away with what he gets away with. You know, look at the lawsuits you're spinning off. You realize what the King family is suing the city for? I mean, for almost being raped in a bar, Jack's, with police in uniform and firemen. Prosecutors there, sheriffs there. And what happens to him? He gets a plea deal. Would you plead guilty that you accidentally touched her buttocks? He did a lot more than that. Plus, he almost killed a man in the headliner, got away with that. Then he gets in a knife fight on High Street while he's doing somebody's wife. He gets away with that. Then he disconnects all the things, sleeping and stealing money, gets away with that. Right? Then you had the public safety director, Hayes. His son goes to jail for 2 years, the Long Branch cop. I mean, what goes on in this city? It's like a crime scene here. You got to do the cops first and start with Roebuck. Where's that investigation? And look at the, do I have a minute left?
40 seconds.
Oh my goodness. Roebuck's case went before Judge O'Brien on the end of October this year. It was thrown out against Lepore. Roebuck lambasted O'Brien. You must get the transcripts. He criminalized what Roebuck did here right in public. And why you're not doing anything about it, because there's now a federal lawsuit. And you guys aren't going to do anything about it. And Roebuck is going to wind up costing this city $5-10 million. But you're not going to do anything. I don't know why. Maybe he's got something on people. That's the way it rolls in Long Branch.
Request 1 minute notification, Vincent Lepore, 33 Ocean Terrace, Long Branch. As of this meeting, Resolution 1020 is listed. for the reappointment of Judge LaRocca as a conflict judge. Apparently, this council and mayor are completely ignorant of the statements made by me at the November 13th, 2019 council meeting, minutes being on record, concerning the complete 100% reversal by the Superior Court Criminal Division of Municipal Court Judge LaRocca's flawed decision in the matter of the State versus Lepore. This complete reversal proves Judge LaRocca's incompetence on the bench, Judge LaRocca's fallacious statements in his decision that he was not bound by higher court rulings, and then proceeded to say, quote, "I could be right or I could be wrong," end quote. Judge LaRocca criminally found guilty an individual, me, with doubt. That judge has to be removed. Clearly, it's a display of judicial incompetence and or judicial misconduct. Judge LaRocca also completely ignored the testimony of a former Long Branch police officer, which the Superior Court Criminal Division on appeal found most relevant and credible. Any vote by this council to approve the reappointment of Judge LaRocca as a conflict judge on the bench clearly further demonstrates the need for a city psychiatrist in City Hall to protect the people of this city from this council and mayor. It is with demand, based on said experience with Judge LaRocca, more so than any member of this council has experienced, that Judge LaRocca not be reappointed. Also on November 18, 2019, in a letter to this council, I referenced with just cause, based on the decision of Lepore, State versus Lepore, that Police Chief Roebuck should be relieved of all firearms in his possession and be charged with criminal public official misconduct. This council did not respond to that letter. Again, as of this evening, Jason Roebuck remains as police chief and remains in possession of firearms. And I'll say it on the public record from personal experience. Police Chief Roebuck is a dirty cop. As such, again, the appropriate authority, that being Mayor Pallone, has failed to do what was necessary in relieving Jason Roebuck as police chief. Jason Roebuck remains an endangerment to the public at large, an endangerment to the police department, and most certainly an endangerment to citizens at government functions, as was certainly made clear in State versus Lepore. There's a saying, quote, "The fish rots from the head down," end quote. What the saying means is that the leadership, or in the case of Long Branch, lack of leadership, is the root cause of an organization's demise. The system of law enforcement and justice in Long Branch is intrinsically flawed.
Mr. Lepore, you have 1 minute.
From the head, the authority, that being Pallone, to the police chief Roebuck, down to various officers in the police department. And even tonight, with the consideration of reappointing Judge LaRocca in the face of a Superior Court criminal decision in the matter of State versus Lepore. In Long Branch, truly, the fish stinks from the head down.
There's no one else. We have a motion to close the public portion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolutions. Now we can take the list of resolutions as a consent agenda. Have a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Dr. Vogt?
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes? Yes. Dr. Scully?
Yes.
Mr. Dangler?
Yes. Applications, we have none. Miscellaneous business for the good of the order. Councilwoman vote.
So let me tell you some of the things that I loved about tonight's meeting. This is city government. This is civic engagement in its full fashion, and it was spectacular in terms of one of the ordinances that we were looking at as far as the environment. Let me tell you some of the words that stood out to me. Linda, you mentioned the word accountability, which I think is extraordinarily important to all of us in everything that we do. Michelle, you mentioned the idea of Long Branch being a leader in no matter what we do, which I think is something that we all should strive for in everything that we do. One of the other members mentioned the research and making sound decisions based on the facts and, you know, doing our homework before we present things. I think you just really showed the value of our commissions, and you were a great example of how people get involved in local government. So my congratulations to you. And also my hope, the comment was made, you know, there are 4 people that are making decisions for 30,000 people. That's not the case at all, as you saw from the Environmental Commission. You have a number of commissions, you have a number of boards that you can all step up to. They are now publicized on our website, and you have opportunities to become involved at a very early stage so you can shape how some of these ordinances get presented. So I would encourage that, and again, you saw it in action. So if that's an encouragement for more people to get involved on a different level, I hope you see an opportunity for yourselves. So again, my hat's off to the commission. You really showed yourself to be extraordinary, in my opinion.
Councilwoman Wittes.
Yes, I too would like to thank the Environmental Commission for bringing the ordinance, the draft ordinance, to the City Council, and to the students of Long Branch Public School as well, who also expressed their concerns on the use of plastics. And I can personally say it's going to be one of the first of one in many ordinances that we need to pass to make this environment better and safer and cleaner for our children. And I would like to thank you for all your efforts. Michelle, Richie, Richie left, but, oh no, you're there. Thank you. You all work very, very hard. You give up your own personal time away from your families, and I'd like to thank you for all that.
Councilwoman Ms. Selly.
First of all, I'd like to wish everybody a Happy New Year and a healthy one. Second of all, I'd like to remind you that we are going into the week where we have the festivities on Martin Luther King. Tonight was the first one at one of the congregation. Although we couldn't attend, I'm sure there are many that you will be able to go to. I don't remember them because I just didn't copy them down. But there will be one on Friday, not this Friday, next Friday at the Portuguese Club, and there'll be several different festivities throughout the city. There will be a march, and I would hope that members of the community would join everybody and remember this great American. Thank you.
Mayor Pallone.
Thank you. I just want to wish everyone a Happy New Year. Thank you for being here, and all the best in 2020 to you and your families. I'd also like to thank the Environmental Commission, the Green Team, for leading the way not only on this ordinance that was adopted tonight, but just for helping us in your leadership on many issues with the environment, which is very important to all of us here. I was kind of writing down same things that Dr. Vogt was. It's a small step. I understand that, and it's our little corner of the world. So I think it's important that we do this, especially as an ocean community. And I think it's important that we lead the way. So again, thank you to all of you for supporting this and for advising us with this. And that's pretty much it. I just want to thank you again for being here this evening.
Thank you. In regards to environmental, again, I would like to thank the committee. You've done a fine job, and commend the students for being a part of it, and the Board of Education for supporting their drive and their efforts. In regards to the state, which they'll probably we know that they're going to come up with something, but we just felt that it was important that we don't necessarily need the state to tell us that we should care about our environment. So we gave it a shot, and if the state overrides and comes up with something more stringent or what have you, then it wasn't for nothing. At least we got started before the state said, this is what you have to do. So I do thank you. In regards to Martin Luther King week, yes, it is a full week, as Dr. Sully said. On Thursday night of next week, there will be the gospel event, if you will, and then on Friday, the 17th, is a soul food dinner. It's just good fun and camaraderie for people from all over the community of Long Branch. There's nothing on Saturday. Then on Sunday, we will have the march and the big service at Second Baptist Church. And on Monday at the Monument, I do believe the mayor will be the keynote at the Monument. Is that correct? And then Monday at 10 o'clock, the Martin Luther King Basketball Scholarship Classic that starts at 10. There will be 6 games, and this year for the first time we'll have 2 high school girl games. So that's big for Long Branch, and it's just something for the students to do to enjoy themselves while we're thinking about and celebrating all that Dr. King meant to us. My last comment is I would like to just send out our prayers to my fellow councilman, Mario Vieira, and his family on their loss. I know it's just tough when you certainly lose the matriarch of the family, but I do wish them well and hope they get back, not so much get back to be here, but get back as a family and understand, safely get back to Long Branch and understand that that we're here for you. So I do just want to send my prayers to that. And with that being said, all of you have a good evening and safe and stay warm again. It seems like every week we come here, I have to say stay warm. So please just stay warm. I need a motion to close.
So moved.
All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Thank you.